Good evening and welcome to the Snap UK podcast. This week, the Winging It edition, because we've all been watching England thrash Wales in the World Cup.
Boo.
And did very little prep.
Well, when you say very little, you mean none. Zero prep.
We wrote the scores down.
And that is a good start.
Most of us have turned up.
Join us if you can for all the news, views and debates you need at insert the Twitter handle.
The Snap UK.
And do listen to this podcast because it'll make it worthwhile us sitting around in Jim's brand new and swanky kitchen to record it post-game. So, you may have gathered there's only three of us here. Gary, too lazy to stay. Paul, too lazy to turn up. So, you know, the good things to be said for the three of us. Yeah, right. It was Thanksgiving week in the NFL. And there were three games on Thanksgiving, as always. I don't know why the Lions have to play on Thanksgiving. No one's ever told me why they have to play.
I think they use this term called tradition.
Yeah, I've heard of it. It's big in cricket.
Yeah,
apparently.
exactly.
And racism. Very big there. Right, okay, well, that's where we're starting. Buffalo 28, Lions 25, and the Lions giving us a competitive performance on Thanksgiving for the first time in, I would guess, 15 years.
Since the original Thanksgiving, I suspect.
Since 16, whatever. Yeah. This was a close game, and deservedly so. This wasn't a runaway by the Bills and then garbage time by the Lions. This was actually a game.
This was the Lions being what the Lions have been for most of the season, really, in terms of that they're competitive in pretty much every match. They had a little kind of down period in the middle of the season, but they've come back. They're able to score. The only problem is they're not able to stop teams that often.
Were they missing Jeff Okudah this week as well?
Yeah, but is that a big loss?
He's been improving as the season's gone on,
He's probably their best corner, which is not saying much.
It's like saying Kiefer Moore's your best striker.
You can say that,
Good
but
evening,
it means you'll only play 3 games at the World Cup.
There we go.
Wow.
60 years. Where were we? Yeah, I mean, so they can't stop much. But, you know, let's be honest, the Buffalo Bills are probably still one of the best defensive teams. So I don't think you can say that. You can't say that much derogatory about the Lions. Even Gary on text during the game said he might have to make an apology to Dan Campbell, and I think that's coming up quite soon because this Lions team is entertaining. It's, you know, we comment a lot about whether a team's entertaining to watch or whether it's like winning. This is a Lions team that I'd be entertained by watching.
I think they've been great. Yeah. There's only been like a couple of games this year when you thought, oh no, are they going to revert to type and just become abysmal? But no, I think they got through that. They've lost their winning streak this week, but I mean,
the fact that they had a winning streak, though.
I mean, even with Matt Stafford, they were never really fun to watch. I mean, they had Megatron, they had.
It was an effort, wasn't it?
Yeah. They are just fun. One of the things I like about Thanksgiving is you sit down and you watch 2-3 whole games, and I was thankful that for some reason that they picked the Lions to do this since 1934. Just look it up, and it was brilliant fun, and it was a contest. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed the game, and as well, like I think the Lions could get even more fun in the next few weeks when Williams makes his appearance. Because I mean, that guy at college was insanely brilliant to watch. Like just the pace he has, and if you add that to Amon-Ra St. Brown and the other players they've got. I mean, it says something that you look at them, at the moment they're not missing Hawkinson, who's come in and made the Vikings even more of a force. So it
was impressive stuff from both teams. To be fair, the Bills become the first team in a very, very long time to play 2 away games in the same stadium in a week and win both. I think. I think who it was.
Freak occurrence.
Yeah, I did look it up now I can't remember who it was. But the fact remains that they managed to be on the road and do that. is extremely impressive considering they themselves had been through their own downtime during the season. But the Lions were on course to win 4 straight for the first time since 2016 and instead have equalled their own record on Thanksgiving of losing 6 Thanksgiving games in a row.
Excellent.
But when was the last time the Lions won 2 games at Ford Field in a week or less, in 5 days or less?
2010.
Close, 2011. So well done, the Bills. It's look, I didn't learn anything new about either of these teams. I knew the Lions could do this. I knew the Bills could do this.
Well, I'd argue with you in that point because previously the Bills they've been winning games where they've just built up really quick winning margins and they've just sat on that winning margin and be able to kind of manage the game. They've struggled against in close games. You know, if a team starts getting quite competitive with them, that's where they've struggled. Remember, Von Miller went out injured in this game as well, so they lost one of their best pass rushers, if not their best pass rusher, and they still managed to come through a win. So I think from that point of view, that might give them a bit of confidence to say, okay, we haven't played well, we're able to manage the game, and we were able to get away with a win. They can now go back home, you know, eat their turkey and be happy.
How big a loss is the Von Miller loss?
Big.
Is he likely to be back before the playoffs?
Yeah, potentially, but
why would you? They're going to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you bring him back?
Make sure you rest him as much as possible, and then get into the playoffs in good health.
Do you know who might not be back before the playoffs? It's the Giants. They slipped to 7-4, losing 20-28 against the Cowboys, and it's a slide now. It's a slide from the Giants. This is not a salt in the wound kind of conversation. This is did they max out just a little bit too early? Bring it back round to where we've been tonight. We've seen teams do this in the World Cup, peak too soon. Did the Giants just peak too soon? And now coming into the meat of their schedule, they're just because you've got the Eagles in there, you've got the Cowboys in there, and the Commanders in there, and the team currently playing worse in the NFC East is the Giants.
I'm going to channel my inner Paul here, and not far.
Shit yourself.
But to say they've got 7 wins. Yeah. We didn't predict that for the Giants at the start of the year. You know, even if they go on to now be 7-9, 10.
Yeah, 7-10. Yeah.
Keep forgetting how many games are on in the league this year. Even if they go on to be 7-10, that's probably better than the expectations we had at the start of the year.
We've come off 3 straight 4-win seasons.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we could end this season near 500. Fine.
Given the turnaround,
we thought this would be a year of pain.
Yeah, given the turnaround on talent that they've had to let go to try and get their cap situation better. Yeah. The fact that their highest paid wide receiver is a complete bum. The fact that they got Daniel Jones at quarterback, who just above gets to average, I'd argue, and Saquon Barkley. There's still question marks over his fitness. It wouldn't have been a surprise for them to go 3 or 4 wins again this year.
Barkley disappeared slightly in this game, 11 carries, 39 yards, a touchdown. But why the lack of usage?
Because I think that...
Because at 3.5 yards average, it's a little bit below what you'd want, but it's still your best weapon.
Yeah, but Gary Brightwell had a great game. 5 carries, 31 yards. Gary Brightwell. Sounds like he played for Man City in the 1990s.
Are you thinking of Paul Bracewell?
I against that Dallas front D line, they have bottled up much better players than Saquon this year.
There are much better players than Saquon?
I think there are. On current form,
it's difficult for a running back to do it all by themselves.
Yeah, I think
Derrick Henry.
I think like you'll get Gary Brightwell coming in, say on loan from the 90s Premier League, coming in and making, but then he would have, a 15-yard run bottled up because it's fine, when you're Mike White in it. But then as soon as they
figure you out,
it's and the defense is doing well because the defense is still not, is still missing huge pieces. Picked off Dak twice. I mean, the touchdowns came from tight ends. we are ahead of schedule, and that's what I want to see. What I don't want to see is Odell Beckham back in the building.
No.
It's that.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Especially because he wants a multi-year deal. And I just, I know he's. I think he's visiting us Thursday, and I think the Bills on Friday. I don't want to. It's nice to do it. Come visit us. Put another couple of million on your Cowboys wages. That's fine. But
I think it's a sentimental visit, isn't it?
Yeah.
We went through this so briefly. I don't believe either of these teams needs Odell Beckham. It's not a Rams situation because Allen Robinson was lost from the Rams. They needed Odell Beckham. I think he actually disrupts what both of these teams want to do. CeeDee Lamb was incredible in this game. Dalton Schultz was incredible in this game. Gallup was brilliant. You got Noah Brown.
3 catches was
Yeah.
amazing.
For the Cowboys, I think they are strong on defense. I get the feeling Dan Quinn might be gone next year.
Absolutely. I think he will get another head coaching.
He will get a head coaching job based on this performance.
The last 2 years, he's been brilliant for Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, God, if I was the Broncos, go back to type, whatever. Whilst you're strong, it may cost you two and a bit years with Beckham, but whilst you're here, he's an upgrade on Noah Brown. I think as long as you're winning and he's in the spotlight, he's happy, and you'll get that at Dallas.
Yeah, he absolutely is an upgrade on Noah Brown, but I don't think he wants to go anywhere where he's going to be the number 3 wide receiver.
And this is my point I was making last week.
Yeah, but I think
he'll be a disruption
by force of personality, by force of, I mean, people were saying, "Oh, has he gone? Is he past it? Is he when he went to the Rams?" And he came in and he started slowly, built up, and was,
But that could easily have gone sour, is the point I'm making.
Oh,
it could
I know.
have definitely gone the other way.
It could have, but that's every transfer can do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure you get that Beckham again on another team. You get the Browns Beckham.
Yeah, but
it's my opinion. But
speaking of like stars that have a second win, Zeke Elliott is playing really well at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, he had a great
well,
game.
Pollard led them the week before.
Yeah, Pollard's great.
But they work as a tandem.
Yeah, I think he works brilliantly. They're both talented running backs. Zeke is definitely the player you want to get the hard-earned yards, straight through the middle. But yeah, it's 16 carries for 92 yards. He looked like the Zeke of old on Thursday night.
Yeah. No, I think that Zeke is not the guy that was drafted. There's been a lot of mileage. There's been a lot of dinners. But he's still an effective running back. He's not worth what he's paid, but he got that because of his rookie performances. The guy with Pollard, they just work together so well. I mean, the two best rushing offenses in the league right now are in the NFC East, and I will fight anyone who says that anything against that because they are brilliant. I mean, maybe the 49ers or something, but yeah.
No, I'd agree.
But
I don't think the 49ers running game is as good as it once was.
Yeah.
I think certainly you can't rule the Eagles out for what they do on the ground. And I agree that tandem of Pollard and Zeke Elliott is highly effective.
I reckon you only get a really good Pollard because
you get a really good Zeke.
You get really good Zeke.
I agree. Okay, the third of the Thanksgiving games, New England 26, Vikings 33. A close game. Mac Jones' best game of the season by a mile. Seems to be turning his year round, which is great. Patriots fall back to 500. Not so good because they have the Bills coming up twice, I think. But you've got to ride the fact that Mac Jones is turning it around. He's completed 77% of his passes over the last 2 games. Prior to that, he was close to 50% on the season. And also, this game hinged on the overturned Hunter Henry touchdown, caught at the goal line, called a touchdown on the field, and then overturned on replay because the ball seemed to touch the ground, even though his hand was under the ball.
This is what you get. This is what you get for years. I'm I know that a lot of Steelers fans find it very funny right now. Other fans are finding it very funny. To me, that was a touchdown. I don't want to get back into the whole "what is a catch" thing.
No,
I hate that.
But
I really hate it.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that you were that close against a team with a record like the Vikings, I'm not quite sold on the Vikings.
Neither am
I
They're
think
9-2.
Yeah.
Why isn't Kevin O'Connell already been given the Coach of the Year award?
because the
Dable.
Eagles are 9-1.
Look at what they're doing with Kirk Cousins.
I agree. I think, but if you look at the talent on the Vikings compared to the Giants,
Yeah.
you take that Viking squad 9 times out.
But when
of
the
10.
Giants aren't in the playoffs and the Vikings are.
It's just but that's
Because this Vikings team was struggling under Mike
let's
Zimmer.
give it to Nick Sirianni again because the Eagles got the best record.
Okay. I wouldn't disagree with that. But I don't understand. I never hear anything about Kevin O'Connell. But, drafted by the Patriots in 2008, by the way,
There you go.
as a backup to Tom Brady.
I mean, yeah, he's.
You
It-
cannot
it-
deny the record.
I can't deny the record, but I can't.
It's the same reason Matt LaFleur hasn't won Coach of the Year. Is that there's a lot of talent on that team.
There was.
Well, there was, yeah. There was a lot of
Not
talent
sure
on that
there
team.
is anymore.
But teams with that much talent on their team should be 9-2, should be 8-3. The Giants probably, looking at the talent, shouldn't be 7-4. Should
Yeah.
be 4-7.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think that's where the coach comes in. The Patriots with that talent probably shouldn't be 6-5.
Not a chance. Not against some of the teams we've
Yeah.
played. However, we get the Bill effect. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
the
if you look,
Belichick Bill effect.
yeah,
hurts.
that's a hell of a metal band. But I mean, the Titans doing what they're doing with
Right, well,
We've just
Derrick
Derrick Henry. The Dolphins becoming the most fun offense in the world. There's a lot. The Vikings are still in a minus point.
Lovie Smith for having one win.
I mean, Dan Campbell just for pissing off Gary so much. I mean, I know we've gone on a bit of a sidetrack there from the Vikings. Do you know what? I know the Patriots defense is great, everything, but
They've had 3 points in each of their last 2 games.
They were a botched call away from losing this game. Really,
Yeah, the Vikings had played a great game, and I think they probably could have scored more points, but New England did everything they could to keep up, and ultimately that offense just doesn't have the power.
yeah.
Therein lies the biggest problem. If you accept that it's another building year, that's fine. Every year that goes by when Belichick's getting older is a year lost to contend again. I'm not complaining. We won all the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
I'm really not. I'm just saying you watch it.
It's not like you're bad.
No, you just watch it and you kind of know what you're going to get. It's a bit dour. And if the defense doesn't play lights out, we're not good enough.
Yeah, but
That's fine. Like I say, we're part of such a big middle group. If we were in half the other divisions, we'd be coasting towards the playoffs.
yeah,
The fact that in the AFC East, 6-5 or 6-6, is not going to be enough. I know we were in the playoff picture up until this weekend, but ultimately it's not likely to be enough because we're going to, quite like Paul said, finish 4th. I'm disgusted with that.
I never took the bet. I will just say.
Okay, moving on to nicer
Sunday.
things. Sunday. Jags 28, Ravens 27, and the Ravens botch it again.
This is a running theme with the Ravens, isn't it?
It has been. That's 4 games they've lost by this margin this season.
Yeah.
Now, it was a 66-yard field goal attempt.
67.
67-yard field goal attempt
Yeah.
from Justin Tucker.
His record's 65,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and it fell yard and a half short
Yeah.
as time expired. Solid win for the Jags. Trevor Lawrence, best game as a pro
Yeah.
by a mile.
Yeah.
And they did it
Undoubtedly.
without Travis Etienne, who had 3 yards and subsequently cost Gary his fantasy game against me.
Well, I am good at fantasy, so it didn't cost me when he went down in 2 of my leagues. Just saying, Gary.
You're right. This is the Trevor Lawrence we've expected to see come out of college, which we haven't seen because he got over by Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And now I think, I don't know. I've liked the Jaguars this year. Like, yes, results haven't always gone their way, but there's been consistent improvement throughout this season. I think this is probably one of those wins that just instill so much confidence into that team and into that quarterback that he does have the ability to make those tight throws. He does have the ability to march the team up the field and get it back into a winning team. He does have the ability to throw a touchdown on a 2-point conversion and win the game. That'll go miles for him. Like, that could turn around his whole career.
Yeah. I mean, it might just be that he is, at the moment, he is a confidence player and he needs that building up. You know, luckily, they got rid of the dickhead they had last year.
DJ Shark.
No, I mean. But yeah, it was his best game, and it was the game. His last 3 games have been quite good.
Oh, he's been improving.
And it seems, I think the loss of ETN, they had to put it on his shoulders because
the running game was doing nothing.
Yeah.
Michael Hasty, 12 carries, 28 yards at 2.3.
Yeah, but Snoop Connor, 3 carries for 11 yards.
Snoop. I'm sorry. I was going to.
I want to order some Just Eat now.
Yeah.
The power of advertising. Zay Jones, 11 receptions, 145 yards, career day for Zay
Some
Jones.
of those catches as well. Amazing.
Yeah, they were brilliant.
Who'd have thought it? But also a shout from Marvin Jones Jr., who managed to get his shin down for a touchdown reception.
I don't think that was a touchdown.
Oh, I think it absolutely was. The bottom of the shin
wasn't
hit the
convinced.
floor before his knee went out of bounds. And that counts. That's 2 feet. 1 shin equals 2 feet. Apparently.
1 shin equals 1 butt cheek.
That's what we learned there. But overall, this is a game that the Ravens
Threw away.
Yeah, they threw it away. The Bengals have been improving. The Steelers are improving. The Browns, you never know what you're going to get. This is the sort of game that ends up costing a team a playoff spot. Like, they couldn't afford to lose this game. I don't know what the rest of the Ravens schedule looks like, but you just can't afford to throw away a game by 1 point against a team that's going nowhere this season.
Well, I'll tell you.
Oh, they've got to win next week.
Broncos.
Then the Steelers, Browns, Falcons, Steelers, finishing with the Bengals.
Oh, to be fair, that's a soft out. That's 5 wins there if they want it.
Really?
You're never quite sure. The Steelers, it is...
I think 4 wins tops.
They beat the Broncos.
Yeah.
They beat the Falcons. They'll go probably 500 with the Steelers. Browns, you never know because it's going to be the new Browns.
We're going to find out a lot about the Browns in the next week or so.
Boo.
Yeah. But
All right. Moving on.
They're going to end up with 10 wins. That will probably be a playoff
It
place.
should be in that division, but we shall see. Game of the week for me. I love this one because it proves so many things right. Now, a lot of these podcasts this season, I've started with an apology. And this time I'm apologising to myself. Michael, how dare you doubt that Zach Wilson is the 3rd best quarterback at the Jets? He's trash. He's a terrible teammate. He's worse than Mike White. He's worse than Joe Flacco. And finally, the coach has realised it and made the change after Wilson refused to accept that he was letting the team down the previous week with his paltry 77 yards of offence.
I mean, they'd have beat you twice if they'd have played Mike White.
Well, indeed came one-time hero Mike White and led the Jets to a 31-10 win over the Bears, admittedly without Justin Fields. Trevor Siemian quarterbacking. It was nearly Nate Peterman.
Nah.
Siemian was injured in the warm-up. They announced Nate Peterman and then thought, it's Nate Peterman. Play the injured fella. But Mike White had more first-half yardage than Zach Wilson has had in most games this season.
Mike White's brilliant in this game.
Lights out.
He's what Salah's wanted.
Who?
Salah.
Salah.
Mo Salah. Robert Salah. But he didn't turn the ball over. They're able to move the ball through the air, finally, which they've not been able to do with Zach Wilson at all. And they made good use of 2 really good wide receivers. Like Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore had good games.
Yeah.
And Elijah Moore was their top pass catching wide receiver last year and had the most yards, and he's just done nothing this year because
haven't been able to find
because of the leadership in the locker room and his, I guess, disgruntlement with Zach Wilson. Is that a word?
I don't think so.
He was disgruntled.
Yeah.
Disgruntlement.
Disgruntalization.
It's late, man. Come
Yeah, it is late. I see they were playing former Fulham defender Zach Knight at running back in which is impressive.
Niche.
14 carries for 69 yards.
I'll have you know his name is Zonovan.
Zoltan. But again, the running game, the pressure was off because Mike White conducted the offense properly, like an NFL offense. All this has done is prove that Wilson has got a long, long way to go. We've all seen it. People have said, well, you've got to play him and wait and see. This is definitely a case of sit him and make him realise the things he's got to do to catch up. You never hear a peep out of Mike White. He goes back to being the backup, doing his job. And when he's asked to come in, mostly he's been very good.
Yeah, I mean...
I know, I get it. After a couple more weeks, people will have film on him.
He's like a...
But is he really going to be worse than Zach Wilson?
Well,
like
that's it.
It's less... this whole quarterback situation is like a lesser situation that the 49ers had. Like Mike White is Jimmy Garoppolo. Doesn't kick up a fuss. Has been a backup. Comes in.
Shags porn stars?
Oh, you don't know.
I'm just going to Google how handsome Mike White is.
Yeah, I don't know what it looks like. Comes in, does the job, gets it done. And now you're like, shit, should we give him another contract?
This guy ain't fucking porn stars.
The Bears then, without their star quarterback, unfortunately, they were struggling to win with him.
I was going to say, you can't read anything into this Bears result because it's been Justin Fields throughout the season that's been pulling them to their 3 wins and a number of close defeats. Without him, they just haven't got anything, really.
Well, they lost Darnell Mooney, haven't they, as well?
Yeah.
So that's...
Eddie Jackson's out now as well.
Yeah, they've got even less. They've given away everything else. I mean, fine.
100 yards combined for Montgomery is about the only highlight for the Bears out of this game.
He was decent on the ground.
Well, he was splitting carries earlier in the season with Khalil Herbert, and he looked like he was dropping to number 2. Since Herbert got injured, Montgomery really has stepped up. That's what he needs to do.
Well, then they should bring in someone else next year. Look like they're going to replace him, and then break him, like Tonya Harding him.
Jesus. Make him wear a tutu. Okay, Browns 23, Bucks 17 after overtime. Tom Brady loses in overtime to slip below his .800 record. Because he did have the most overtime percentage wins. If this is Jacoby Brissett's last start as a Brown, what a way to go out. Played really well.
Really, yeah.
Probably will be. They've already said they're going to start Watson.
Yeah, but we're all hoping he gets injured.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, what an awful thing to say.
I'm going to Tonya Harding him.
Sounds like a disgusting sexual practice.
He'd be used to that.
But yeah, I mean, look, Brissett signed off. There are 6 or 7 teams in the league that would benefit from having Jacoby Brissett as their starter. Yeah. There have been times this season when I wish the Patriots would have kept him because at least he's predictable. He lacks the arm strength, but some of the play in this game was excellent, and he went blow for blow with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Which, at one time, he would have struggled to do. This was a very mature performance, something you're less likely to get in the future, in my opinion.
It's saying something when actually I think the best free agent signing the Browns have made in probably the last couple of years is Jacoby Brissett. I mean, like we were for a couple of years, you were looking at them going, "Oh, actually, they've really become like aces at the free agent market, at the trading, at the draft," and it doesn't seem to have been as good recently. But yeah, I can't fault Jacoby Brissett. He was brilliant. Amari Cooper, he's finally building up a connection with Amari Cooper just in time for them to obliterate it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brissett has sort of glued this team together over the controversy. He's done nothing to court any issues of his own, and it's a great example to someone harking back to Zach Wilson, where you should look and say, that is a man making the most of his somewhat limited talents, who has now a career as a backup / spot starter in the NFL and will make a lot of money.
Yeah, he's
what a career to have.
I'd say Zach Wilson's probably got more talent than Jacoby Brissett, but Jacoby Brissett is obviously the much more mature,
he's maximising,
level-headed, better teammate, better leader. Zach Wilson needs to look. Yeah, you're absolutely right. He needs to look at a player like that and go, I need to be a bit more like that.
David Njoku's one-handed catch to force overtime.
One of the
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Of the week. That's going to be my nomination for Sweetest Player of the Week.
I'll pick something else then.
I have another
I'm not
one.
being the same as you, mate.
All right, fine. I have another one if you want me to change it.
So
Good,
Tampa
please.
Bay slipped to 5-6. Brady has never been 5-6 this late in the season. The Browns up to 4-7.
It's just a good job that it's the NFC South, which
It
is
is
a dumpster fire of a
Oh,
division.
yeah.
And that they're still top.
Yeah, which is crazy. It could well be a losing team that makes the playoffs.
They are the new NFC least.
Mike Evans
I'm trying to think of what we call them, because the NFC East was the NFC least.
The NFC South.
Yeah, I'll leave you to mull that one over because I've been thinking about it for
Mike
a while.
Evans became the first Tampa Bay player to reach 10,000 receiving yards.
I'm not surprised they've not had a decent wide receiver ever, and he is
What are you
brilliant.
saying about Vincent Jackson and other terrible mid-noughties receivers for the Tampa Bay Bucks?
Yeah,
As well, for a few years, James was just thrown over the top of them anyway. So
Also didn't help.
Yeah.
Tristan Wirfs, though, it looks like they've avoided major catastrophe with injury to Tristan Wirfs. He was carted off the field, but was then seen on film walking around the locker room. He was doing the handshakes and the back slaps as he was being taken off, and it looked like
they cannot afford any more injuries to that offensive line, because they haven't got the quarterback that can afford any more injuries to that offensive line.
Absolutely.
I've just looked at the Bucks' schedule coming up. It looks pretty soft. Saints, 49ers and Bengals.
Saints always have Bucks number.
Yeah. But then they're finishing off with the Cardinals, the Panthers, and the Falcons. The Falcons might give them a game, because the Falcons, you never know with the Falcons. They
Those in-division games.
Can you honestly say you trust the Bucks to win 4 of those games?
Not anymore.
No.
No,
And therein lies a problem.
I think if I was to predict it, I'd say they'd go half with this, so 3-3, which would leave them still with a losing record
Exactly.
and in the playoffs.
Most likely.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Moving on. Raiders. They notch up a win, 40-34 over the Seahawks. This was the Josh Jacobs show. He won me a fantasy game by a ridiculous number of points against a Raiders fan.
48.3 points.
48.3 points. He absolutely torched the Seahawks all day.
Josh Jacobs is a good player.
Why was this ever in doubt? Why was the fifth-year option not picked up? Why, before the season started, were we told they were trying to trade him?
I don't get it. And then when they started using him, they started doing really well. And then they stopped using him, and they turned to shit again.
Well, he's the best offensive player on this team.
He's top 2.
Well, you were going to say Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is limited by the game, whereas I don't think Josh Jacobs is. His only limitation is how many carries they give him.
Yeah, on that basis, you are probably right.
Right now. I'm not saying, like, when everything's clicking, the Carr-Adams connection could be amazing. But it's so hot and cold this season. So hot and cold.
You know what we were saying earlier about good coaching gets
Yeah.
wins out of poorly talented teams? This isn't really a poorly talented team when you think about Derek Carr can be a good quarterback.
Carr, Jacobs, Adams.
Jacobs and Adams are top 10 running backs and wide receivers. I think you could probably go further than that. You could
Max
probably,
Crosby.
You could probably make an argument that Jacobs might be top 5 given the form he's in at the moment.
Well, bearing in mind, we just watched him have 33 carries for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Exactly.
And 6 receptions for 74 yards.
So coming back to coaching, this is poor coaching. And there's been rumours the whole season about the fact that the Raiders' playbook is really complicated and it's difficult to grasp and players take a few weeks to get to grips with it. That's bullshit. Make your game plan fit your players, fit the talent that you've got on this roster. If they can't figure out the playbook, change the playbook.
Yeah,
Because they can't figure out the playbook, they're not going to win.
Well, surely the playbook should be hand the ball to Josh Jacobs.
At the moment.
Do that enough, and then you'll find Devontae Adams suddenly is less covered.
yeah,
Exactly.
Because the safeties will move up to fill the box.
It doesn't feel that difficult, and yet Josh McDaniels makes it feel that difficult.
This moves the Raiders to 4-7. For me, they're out of the playoff picture, but at least this
Did
was.
we write them off last week?
I believe so. Yeah. Seahawks drop. Well, they're 6-5, but
I think this game tells us more about a Seahawks team who were
think they've peaked.
If they have peaked. I think their thing is very much like the Giants. They've gone.
Yeah.
They
went early.
Kenneth Walker
we call it premature or a pharaoh in my household.
He lives by himself, John. It's okay.
Yeah, it's true. It's just me slagging you off.
Oh, then yes, fine. Plus, I assume your mum says that as well. So,
only when you've been
because she'd know. Kenneth Walker, has
14 carries, 26 yards, 1.9, but 2 touchdowns, and he was unstoppable. They piled him into the end zone.
Yeah, that touchdown.
There's about 8 people in that scrum.
That was good rugby play.
It was good rugby play. He is brilliant.
Yeah,
and he's pushing Josh Jacobs because they are top 5 running backs this season.
He is, but if you take away his touchdowns of the last few weeks, Kenneth Walker is dropping, returning to the mean.
Yes,
of what you expect. So he's having a Jamal Williams style performance lately rather than a DeAndre Swift.
The issue on the offense for the Seahawks was proof that Geno Smith's ceiling is he cannot afford to turn the ball over. He actually threw 2 interceptions. One was overturned, but it was a bad throw.
It was a bad throw.
They both were, to be fair. And if he isn't immaculate, then he isn't good enough to win.
Yeah.
It's like Jacoby Brissett. He's very much in the same level for me, where he can win you games. He also can be the reason you don't win games.
Yeah.
But that is not to diminish what he's done. I still think it's been a remarkable career resurgence. But they're 6-5. If they finish with a winning record, or let's say they finish 8-9, brilliant.
Yeah.
But I think there's a good chance they finish with a winning record still.
I think there is as well.
We had people seriously considering them for first pick in the draft early in the season.
Absolutely.
So they are confounding expectations.
Look, when you said at the beginning of the season, there's a choice between Drew Lock or Geno Smith. You're like, we were laughing at them.
Yeah. No, and
what does it mean for Drew Lock?
Well, I don't think it means anything different for Drew Lock.
No.
Because Geno Smith just played well. It's not like Geno Smith's been bad and he's still kept Drew Lock out. Geno Smith's been good. And Drew Lock isn't. So nothing changes there.
All right, we're moving on. Talk to me about Eagles 40, Packers 33, and why Aaron Rodgers shouldn't be shut down for the season.
Well, let's start with the scoreline and how they went about winning this game. And I've been saying it for weeks, months, years. You can run against the Packers.
yeah.
Like the 49ers have won several playoff games against the Packers because you can run against the Packers. And it's a Sunday night, wasn't it? Sunday night, the Eagles got 363 rushing yards.
That is insane. Jalen Hurts, 157, Miles Sanders, 143, and then Gainwell and Scott also chipping in.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like that's 7.4 yards per carry.
I feel like you and I could get yards here, John.
I'd get yards on the Packers. It wouldn't be many.
Like, earlier in the season, the Eagles had a problem where you could run against the Eagles.
Yeah.
They went out and fixed that.
Signed Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh.
What was stopping the Packers doing something exactly the same?
Yeah.
Because, Linval Joseph...
Well, I'll tell you what it was.
Was still there.
They've got 50 million quid wrapped up in one bloke.
Yeah. To your second point, absolutely. I would... Look, we wrote them off last week. I was a little bit... is that a little bit too early? Now I'm like 4-8. There's no chance.
4-8. Rodgers... To be fair, 11 of 16 for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions as well. This is a man who doesn't throw picks as a rule. What's he average, like 5 a season?
Yeah. But then
he doesn't look good. He's carrying an injury. He was hurt in this game.
2 injuries now, apparently.
And
he's got a broken thumb.
Jordan Love came in, 6 of 9, 113 yards with a touchdown, didn't turn the ball over. Spend the rest of the season as a project in seeing what you've got.
See what you've got. The season is gone.
You might trade him and get something for him. You might decide, look, we have to move on. I know Rodgers is signed up, but why do you think he's definitely going to play next year?
I don't.
I mean, why? He a bit like several other quarterbacks we've said, he's starting to look old. He is. He's not immortal. He might think he is. He probably does think he is. But he is starting to look old.
Yeah.
The mistakes are coming.
100%.
He's grumpy as fuck. He's not a good teammate. We've known this forever.
Well, you see him without his pads and shirt at the end. He looked very old. But yeah, no, he is. I don't like the guy.
Neither do I.
Did you see the interview with Deshaun Kaiser this week?
No.
Apparently, the first thing
Why is anyone interviewing Deshaun Kaiser?
Well, because of course he worked with Aaron Rodgers, and the first thing that Aaron Rodgers said. Can you guess what the first thing Aaron Rodgers asked Deshaun Kaiser? Do you believe in 9/11? And Deshaun Kaiser was like, "What, the terrorist attack?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "You should look into that, mate."
That's the first thing.
That's the first thing he asked him, and yeah. So Aaron Rodgers is a 9/11 truther.
That doesn't surprise me.
Assumedly, this interview with Deshaun Kaiser happened while he was working behind the bar in Costa.
What about he's got lots of free time?
Yeah, doing some charity work in the community or something.
But yeah, no, like
these are just two teams heading in completely opposite.
Exactly. Put Jordan Love in, see what you've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if he's great, you trade Aaron Rodgers. If he's merely middling, trade Jordan Love.
If he's terrible, you know you've got a quarterback issue and you can fix it.
Yeah,
but without knowing, you don't know that.
He seems to have he came in nice little connection with Watson, which is all that Aaron Rodgers has been doing in the last few weeks anyway. So
Watson's quietly getting to that position where he could be a nominee for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
He's been really
I think
coming on.
He's left it
a bit
too
late. Yeah, I probably agree with you there.
But it's the Offensive Rookie of the Year is wider open than Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
There are 5 games left for Green Bay. 5?
Yeah, because
5 games left. They haven't had their bye
yet.
But yeah, it's all about love now. Make love, not...
Must be love.
Yeah, let's take that. Right, moving on.
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. It's always a strange lyric. Let's leave that. Let's leave that. Steelers 24, Colts 17, Monday Night Football. The Jeff Saturday bounce back did not occur.
Oh, shock.
Matt Ryan looking like a statue. Look, it's not on him. I'm keen to point out this season it's not on him. This O-line, once again, a letdown. But they can't make big plays. They cannot get themselves out of trouble.
No. But I think I had them, when we did our power rankings the other week, I think I had them what felt ridiculously low, and I look back and I go, oh, maybe that was a bit harsh.
I don't think it was. I saw it and I thought, I wish I'd have done it that low.
Yeah, now I'm like, no, I'm right. Okay, they had a good week 1 with Jeff Saturday. You know, that was encouraging. But let's just remember, Jeff Saturday has never been a coach other than a high school coach.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not talking he's never been a head coach.
No, he's never been a coach.
He's never been a coach.
No, ESPN analyst, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Before this.
Like,
and
great
coached
player,
at high school.
Amazing player. Probably should go into the Hall of Fame for his playing ability, but he's not a coach.
It's like when Valencia hired Gary Neville.
Yeah. That went well. Yeah. Kenny Pickett, 20 of 28, 174 yards, no turnovers, no touchdowns, but no turnovers. This was easily his best game of the season. He was sacked 3 times. But he did enough to orchestrate this win.
Yeah.
And that is what they need from him. He's showing progress. It's slower than people would have liked, but he is showing progress.
But it's not like they've drafted Trevor Lawrence or, an Andrew Luck, a Zach Wilson. Like, they have, he's a later round pick. He isn't as...
He was still first round, but it was later in the first round.
Yeah. He's... A lot of it, his pick was, of course, based on his Pittsburgh pedigree. He knows the club. So, it's as if he was drafted by Steve Bruce. It's fine. He's better than Mr. Biscuit has proved to be. He's in a decent organisation for someone who can... They don't need him to turn around this year to become brilliant, because the Steelers have a head coach who has time.
Yeah, so
he has
on that
credit
point,
in the bag.
They've got 6 games left. Find me a way whereby Mike Tomlin doesn't have his first sub-500 season. Tell me, looking at the fixture list to come, where you think the Steelers can win enough games to not...
At the moment?
They are 4-7.
Well, they play the Falcons this week.
Falcons they
could win. Then they play the Ravens. So the Ravens will probably fuck it up at the last and give them it. Panthers.
Win.
Raiders, in a primetime game on Christmas
Could
morning.
do. So
You never know with the Raiders.
we haven't written off any of the first 4.
It's in
Ravens.
Pittsburgh as well. Then it's Ravens again.
You said they'd split with the Ravens earlier.
Yeah.
4-1.
Browns. And I really want them to beat the Browns.
I really want them to.
I don't know if they will, but I really want them to. And the defence is getting better.
Well, it's getting the pieces back. But
Yeah.
I honestly don't see a way whereby they don't finish under 500.
I think they'll finish under 500. But
They'll finish
I
under
would
500.
be encouraged if I was a Steelers fan, because Kenny Pickett is showing improvement week on week. The running game is not brilliant, but it's productive. The defense, like you mentioned, it are getting better. They've got a couple of good young wide receivers and a good young tight end. Go into next year, improve that offensive line, and suddenly I think this team is competitive in the AFC North
You
again.
said the phrase good young tight end. I want to talk up one of Paul's favourites, Jelani Woods.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
8 receptions, 98 yards at 12.3 a reception. Best game of the season by a mile. Paul would have been delighted, but he's too lazy to be here. So
Jelani Woods always has good games. The weeks Paul isn't here.
Yeah. Paul, Paul, I don't think Paul will be with us next week, just to let you know.
Bringing Jelani Woods into
So,
the fantasy team.
I'm going to bring in Jelani Woods for the dynasty team.
Okay, moving on. Chargers 25, Cardinals 24. Cardinals lose again. It's over for Clinkernuts. The Clinkernuts Kyler, because Kyler will stay because they've given him the money. It's over for Clinkernuts. I don't think they make the playoffs. I haven't thought that all season. Chargers just about keeping themselves in the mix. That's all they're interested in now.
Just about scraping by, aren't they? This was a battle of two franchises that are just destined to lose every match they play for some reason, and yet sometimes they occasionally win.
If it's the the stoppable thing versus it's. I know people will tell me, "Oh, look at the record. It's 6-5." I don't.
Well, it's not as good as it was.
Not as good as it was, and somehow they've got. I know Keenan Allen has been missing. Mike Williams has been missing, but even when Keenan Allen was there and Mike Williams was there, the Chargers have somehow made Justin Herbert really fucking boring.
He still makes some incredible. One of his touchdown throws.
Yeah. The guy is a stud.
He's talented.
I would put him on talent. He's in the top maybe 3 quarterbacks for me.
Right.
I think he's incredible, and you've got him playing this year like Alex Smith.
He threw 47 passes, completing 35 for less than 300 yards. It's just, I don't think that.
That's because a lot of those passes. I've been a down on Eckler for a couple of years. Most of those passes are to Eckler.
Mm-hmm.
Like 15 targets are to Eckler. And he caught 11 and he had 60 yards on the ground. That's great. But that's why it's happening, is because there's nothing else going on.
And
up the
Herbert should
field.
never be your lead rusher. And
No.
he was.
No.
38 yards.
Yeah.
He's not Josh Allen.
No, he
shouldn't be
absolutely
your lead
not.
rusher.
No.
Eckler as a pass catching back is amazing. As a running back, I don't think he's very good.
I agree.
I'm with you there. I think he could be great back in the Melvin Gordon days.
Yeah, if you we talked about Zeke and Pollard earlier. If you put Zeke with Eckler, I think that's a good 1-2 combination.
Yeah.
And you said Melvin Gordon there, that would be a good 1-2 combination, and Melvin Gordon could hold on to the ball. But with no one else, with Josh Kelly and Isaiah Spiller, you haven't got a running option. Realistically. And that's one of the biggest problems. Now, both these teams have got talent on them, and both these teams are you just think they're going to lose every match.
Yeah.
I mean, this should have been a draw because neither of them really wanted to win it.
I mean, going for a 2-point conversion right at the end, you think if anyone's going to fuck this up, it's the Chargers.
Yeah.
Then you remember they're playing the Cardinals, so of course they can't fuck it up because the Cardinals' juju is just worse. I can't stand either of these teams right now.
Both these teams need changes at the coach.
Yeah.
Need it.
Absolutely. They're two very talented rosters that just aren't being utilised properly. Okay. Speaking of rosters not being utilised properly, Saints 0, 49ers 13, which,
Attritional.
Attritional.
Win this game.
Fourth game in a row where the Niners shut an opponent out in the second half, which is incredible.
Yeah.
It's only been done 3 times since 1990. And one of those times was the Niners before.
Do you remember the last 4 teams to shut the Saints out? The 49ers, the 49ers, the 49ers, and the 49ers. And it dates back to like the kind of mid-90s or something.
God.
Because this is the first time the Saints have been shut out since before the Drew Brees era.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The offence.
You're right. It was the longest active scoring streak in the NFL, 332 games, 21 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they
Fair enough.
came close.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, the 49ers had a fumble recovery literally on the goal line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara fumbling twice in the game.
Yeah.
It just killed any chance.
But it was cool. I mean, the 49ers are winning because of their defense. Like,
Yeah.
the offense is playing well in patches. It had a good game the other week against the Cardinals. It didn't do so well against the Saints, who got some pieces back there. They had people coming back from injuries this week. Cameron Jordan and Marcus Davenport were both back in the team. Bradley Roby at cornerback wasn't back in. So they are getting fit on defense, and defense has never been the problem with the Saints. It's just the offense just doesn't fire. You've got Andy Dalton or Lazek Jameis.
It's much like the Jets. You can have the best, defense. Defense wins you championships is only as true if you have a functional offense.
Yeah.
And the Jets realized that if they had, if they had someone who could throw the ball to a guy in green, that somehow you then are able to utilize that good defense. The Saints are such a weird team this year. They just can't wait for January to come along.
They
Really,
should be
kind of.
head and shoulders above everyone in the NFC South. at the
Yeah.
moment, based on the talent on that team.
Yeah, they should have been. It's
Because struggle. Even though the quarterbacks aren't great, there isn't even without Michael Thomas, who destined never to play a football game again, it seems. There is enough talent on the wide receivers. Alvin Kamara was a great running back at one point, not anymore.
You drafted him this year, that's why.
Not for my
for
team,
Chris,
though.
if you drafted him for Chris, you were still involved.
I was still involved.
He has your
that
touch
juice.
on him. But if I was the Saints, bring back Jameis, get Chris Olave, try and get Chris Olave
There's
Rookie
no
of the Year.
point carrying on with Andy Dalton.
You know what it
full
is.
stop for anyone.
Anyway.
The Niners are 7-4. Give me their Super Bowl chances right now.
Slight.
Really?
Yeah.
Bigger than slight.
Monster defense, Garoppolo playing well enough. The running game. I mean, CMC hasn't really taken off there yet.
I know, but they've won 4 straight games against nobody. Again, like the Saints are shit.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, they're shit. The Rams are shit. The Chargers can't get out their own way.
Big test coming up now.
This weekend, the Dolphins. You go into the playoffs. I like a lot of what the 49ers do. I think I like watching a good defense. I love watching big meaty men hitting smaller meaty men. It's great fun. But
Of course you do.
but
Please clear your search history.
Meaty men.
yeah. But I think as soon as they come up against someone good, like a playoff team, I think playoff football, I think they'll struggle.
So this is
that's
the
the
big week.
thing.
They got the Dolphins on Sunday, and that's
coming home.
that's two Carl Shanahan offenses teams going against each other. I think the 49ers defense is much better than the Dolphins defense. I think the Dolphins offense is better than the 49ers offense.
Anyone
but
at this
not by
table
great.
picking the 49ers to win that game?
I will, because it is at San Francisco.
Yeah.
I will take the Dolphins.
I'll take the Dolphins. I don't think it'll be a big win, but I think it will be a win for the Dolphins.
Even
But
after the Dolphins, they got the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Commanders, Raiders, and the Cardinals.
yeah, you're going.
You're
You're
going to sail in.
sailing.
Sail in.
Yeah,
I think you've got a shot because I think you've been there before, and that counts for a lot.
does.
I don't. But it's not. I didn't fit. I had them going on a late playoff run
Yeah,
this year. I think that's where you'll get.
It's not out the realms of possibility like the Bengals going to Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, no, God no. And if they beat the Dolphins, I will turn around and say, do you know what? Sod it. They will get to the championship game and lose to the Eagles.
All right. Now, you mentioned a team a minute ago that you deemed shit. Rams 10, Chiefs 26, and you really don't have to try very hard to beat this Rams team anymore. Did they start Bryce Perkins?
Yes.
Running back?
Yeah.
How did he do?
Quarterback.
Quarterback, sorry.
13 from 23, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Okay, I mean, honestly, this evening, it's been a long day.
He was also their top rushing.
Yeah, he was their best rusher.
9 carries, 44 yards.
Brilliant. Like I say, it's been a long day.
You were kind of right with running back.
And,
This scoreline flatters the Rams.
Absolutely does. This was a game that I feel we can speed over very quickly.
Yeah.
The Rams have got no hope for the season.
Dude.
Shut down everyone that you want to keep.
Yes.
Play the underdogs, your Bryce Perkins. I mean, they lost Darrell Henderson last week, so they're being forced to play Cam Akers, who they didn't want.
They didn't lose. They cut him.
They cut him because he was basically disgruntled with his usage.
I don't blame him either.
No, neither do I. But you learn nothing new about these teams. The Rams are going to suck and probably not win another game this season. And then they don't have any picks anyway.
I don't know what happens.
And the Chiefs, okay, they were working at 70%.
Sean McVay getting absolutely smashed with that guy's helmet. That was funny.
Yeah,
the guy that ran on, just ran into the side of his face. Yeah, it was possibly the heaviest hit anyone on the Rams put on anyone all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Mahomes was majestic as always. Travis Kelce was amazing. Even the running game turned up. But yeah, we can move on because the Chiefs are really good. The Rams are the Rams. This, like I said, scoreline flattered the Rams. It should have been more.
You mentioned a Kelce there. I just want to go back to the Eagles game earlier. You know, Jason Kelce has the most starts now as an O-lineman ever for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd just point that out.
Well, we should have mentioned actually that the Eagles' offensive line is brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Like, no team in the league quite understands that the game is played in the trenches sometimes, and they can absolutely just run through teams. It's brilliant to watch. And Jason Kelce's a huge part of that. Although I won't be buying the Eagles O-line Christmas album, which is coming out.
What?
The Eagles O-line releasing a Christmas album.
I'll buy it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I suspect you're getting at least 4 copies of that for Christmas.
I mean, just to warn you, if anyone buys it me, you're getting the Cole Beasley album in return.
I mean, that sounds fair. Right, another game that I don't feel we need to spend a lot of time on. Texans 15, a very undeserved 15. Dolphins 30. I mean...
30-0 at half-time, wasn't it?
30-0 at half-time. And I believe the Texans had something in the region of 9 yards of net offense in the first half.
Yeah.
This is after they replaced starter Davis Mills with Kyle Allen. Remember him from such shows as I'm a rubbish quarterback?
Didn't he just follow Ron for a few years?
One
Panthers.
of the Allens did. Was it Brandon?
I thought it was Kyle. He went for the Panthers to the Washington team. And
you're right,
and then even Ron's let him go. He's that shit.
He's got Taylor Heineke now.
So yeah.
Hey, look, Texans are bad. Dolphins are really good.
Yeah.
There's just nothing from this game to describe, or to provide an adequate description of how I feel. It was just predictable.
Yeah.
You knew the Texans couldn't defend. Lovie Smith, bless him, just looks like he's crept out the same old folks home I said Bill Belichick was in earlier in the season. He just stands on the sideline looking perplexed as to why his defense can't stop anyone.
Because they're crap.
Yeah, really bad.
Are they 1-8-1 now?
1-9-1.
1-9-1.
The Texans' only job in this league is to make sure the Broncos don't get the first pick.
But how good of a job was David Culley doing?
He was doing fine.
They got 4 wins last year.
That's the whole point. David Culley was doing a good job there.
Yeah.
I've got nothing else about this game. We're moving on.
Okay.
Bengals 20, Titans 16. And this was actually a really good performance from the Bengals because Titans played them hard here.
Yeah.
They're a good team. And they're able to... they stopped Derrick Henry for 38 yards, 2.2 yards a carry.
No one does that.
Nope.
That's how you stop the Titans. Now, normally you're right. You can't do that because Derrick Henry is a fucking phenomenon. I can't say that word. Phenomenon.
I'm so glad that paid off.
Yeah. Bengals without Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine turned up. He was decent enough.
Samaje Perine had 2 really good games.
Yeah. And Joe Burrow was good. And
Defensive line was decent for the Bengals. They're really coming together.
Really coming together now. Like
I mean, it should be. We're 3/4 away through the season.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but look at the Colts. Like, just because it should, it doesn't mean it will. Like, you just see Karras leaving the pitch.
Ted Karras, yeah.
Telling Tennessee to go fuck themselves, effectively. But
they did this without Jamar Chase as well.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Like,
He's not far from coming back either.
No. Well, they said he could have played.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to risk it. And they were right.
Yeah, T. Higgins turned up. T. Higgins is criminally underrated. He had 7 receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown. As a number 2 receiver, he's brilliant. Could he make a step up to number 1? I don't see why not. I think when he comes out of contract, if the Bengals don't keep him, somebody will sign him up.
He'll get a deal.
Yeah.
But for the Titans, Henry was kept to 50 yards 2 weeks ago by the Broncos, who just happened to be shitter than them. Like, if they aren't moving the ball with Henry, they're not great. I mean, Burks got a touchdown this week, didn't he? But only because
he's been better.
Because he fumbled recovery.
He jumped on the ball, didn't he?
From Derrick Henry,
who did all of the hard work and then had the ball punched out on the half-yard line. It's crazy.
But I'm.
There was also no receptions in the game. Jeff Swaim on his 1 target.
Shit.
Sorry, Paul.
But yeah, no, I like the Titans. They're great. They're very impressive in the fact that they get such a great record. But once I get the feeling it's just more the same. Once they get the playoffs, they'll play someone good and lose.
Probably.
All right, moving on. Falcons 13, the Red Pandas 19. Taylor Heineke again. I mean, ultimately this came down to Mariota being intercepted in the end zone. But it was actually quite an entertaining game because it's 2 quarterbacks who aren't really like proper quarterbacks. They're guys with talents in different ways. Mariota wants to take off and run. Heineke just wants to stand there and pretend he's Brett Favre. And it actually made for quite an entertaining game despite the less than thrilling scoreline. Because you genuinely didn't know until the last second which way this was going to go.
You should want to watch Taylor Heineke because he's good fun.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. If I was a Commander fan, I'd be like, right, this is good fun now.
He's a Kirk Cousins with nothing to lose.
Oh, he's better than that.
I really rate him. I think he's more entertaining than Kirk Cousins.
The difference maker for me this game is
Robinson.
Yeah, 2 shots in one arse by Robinson.
105 yards on 18 carries, 5.8.
1 big hat.
What was that all about?
His mate makes them.
His mate's got a big hat coat.
Yeah, so he makes his mate makes big hats. So he's like,
sorry, is that for people like you or like? I don't know. John has an enormous head.
Small arms.
Sometimes can't put hats on. You can't reach.
Honestly, my mum bought me a hat for my birthday this year, and she was
nothing?
so pleased because it was a hat that finally fit my massive head.
He bought a hat once that said one size fits most.
Yeah, it was a lie. Fuck you, NFL. Every time I buy a Giants hat, it says one height.
Oh, the irony.
One size fits most.
I think the headline was like Brian Robinson wears a Giants hat. And I was like, that's a bit like controversial. Is he wearing he's actually wearing a giant hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. But he was brilliant.
Yeah, he's great. He really,
he really was.
I mean, it's the death of Antonio Gibson, but
I don't think it is. I think it's another team that thrives when their running backs work together as a tandem. Gibson will be fine. He actually had 50-odd yards worth on a couple of kick returns. For the Falcons, basically, if they don't pull out a trick play or something spectacular out of Patterson, you feel, especially now they don't have Pitts, that they're just very blunt.
Yeah.
They're very blunt. Mariota gets the criticism, 15 of 25, 174, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Yeah, fine, but the game plan is not there for that.
The problem with the Falcons is that the NFC South is still competitive and they're still in it. If you're the Falcons, you'd almost want to be out of competition so you can start trying a few other things. I want to see Desmond Ridder play because I want to know what they've got in him. because he looked amazing at Cincinnati in college.
Yeah, he did.
He
But
won a lot
I
of
don't think the
games.
team is there to support what he is good at.
But let's just see
The team is there to support what Mariota's good at.
But let's see what he can do.
I don't doubt he will.
Can he get any more out of the team than Mariota? I mean, I know that.
Who will he be throwing to? Ollie Zacchaeus?
Yeah.
I mean, Mariota, 50 to 25, 174 yards. Heineke, 40 to 23, 138 yards. Yeah. They're the same person.
They're not. Their traits are so different.
Mariota also got some rushing yards, but
Heineke got -1 rushing yards.
Yeah, both of them, 1 interception. The difference is 2 touchdowns. One's playing in a team that are in unfathomable form because that team's shit.
Unfathomable form. Look, you say they're shit, but how many consecutive games have the Commanders won now? 5? 6?
Sorry? They're 7-5.
Yeah, but how many games in a row have they won?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's 5 of 6 they've won.
It's something ridiculous.
Three,
I mean, they're the only team to have beat the Eagles.
6 in a row?
6 out of 7.
6 out of 7.
And
Ron Rivera also should be getting nominated for Coach of the Year.
Definitely.
Because this team is not full of talent.
No.
And this team was going nowhere, and their ownership is a crisis. And that man has just overcome. Did you see the statue they revealed before the game?
So, is it a statue or did they nick that from H&M?
Fucking mannequin.
So this is the chap's name is
Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor. Sorry. So this is the Sean Taylor statue to basically encompass the spirit of one of their greatest ever players, cut down in his prime.
It's hollow.
It was hollow, made of wire. It didn't look like him. It seemed to be dressed in different bits of the Washington team uniforms from over the years. Like the top was an Adidas, the cleats were Nike, and it looked like it might have had some of the ye oldie, the name we don't mention.
It had a ye oldie helmet, didn't it?
Which is fine, because that's when he played. But get the message right, man. Like, perhaps don't put a helmet on.
They consistently use the memory of Sean Taylor to try and increase the popularity or try and get away from the negativity. They did it last season.
It's a distraction piece, isn't it?
They made a devotion to him on the field, and it was during a time when
just not good.
The franchise was going through a really shit period again. If I was the Taylor family, I'd be like, stop it.
Yeah.
Take that.
They looked embarrassed.
Fucking disgrace down. Like, surely they had sign off on it before.
I don't think they'd ever seen that before. They looked horrified.
I can only presume they didn't, because there's no way that you'd ever sign that off for any member of your family as a representation of such a good player. Anyway.
There you go. They've named it. They named a road after him. The road was rededicated in front of porta potties. The sideline number tribute was where the VIPs stand. So there was people. The halftime ceremony involved no speeches or recognition, and the owner wore a hoodie to the pre-game meeting with the family. They're using his name as a distraction from all the bullshit the owners are doing. Yeah. There's a time and a place for it. What they're doing is just tarnishing it, and I really hate it. And the quite quickly, the sooner that owner is bombed out the league, the better. He's going to make billions.
Yeah. I hope as soon as they do sell it, whoever buys it just rectifies all of that and builds a proper statue to the man, because absolutely needs to happen.
If they're going to build, if it's a new stadium, it should be put a statue. Stop using his name for your own needs. It's disgusting.
Okay, the Commanders are 6 of 7.
Shit.
6
Sorry, yes.
from the last 7.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know who's lost 7 of 8? That's right. It's the terrible Denver Shite Show Broncos.
Of course, yes, it is.
They've now lost 7 of their last 8. They lost 10-23 to the Carolina Panthers, starting their third quarterback of the season.
Can I give you another stat?
Go on.
Carson Wentz has thrown more touchdown passes than Russell Wilson this season.
Oh, that's awful.
Carson Wentz hasn't played since week 6.
And herein lies the problem. So Sam Darnold started. He was the third starter for the Carolina Panthers in 3 weeks. Look, he didn't do anything special, but he didn't turn the ball over, which is always a bonus from Darnold, and outplayed Russell Wilson on the other side, who could not get anything going again, to the point where Mike Purcell, the O-lineman, was actually yelling in Wilson's face, telling him he'd got to get going. And he can't. He's got no juice. Gary asked us if anyone's jumping on the bandwagon for Russell Wilson is done.
To be fair, he asks us every week.
He does. I am not. Until I see him without Nathaniel Hackett, I am not prepared to say that. But do something. Do anything. This is the Panthers. They're chuffing terrible.
Appalling.
They're now 4-8, the Panthers.
Oh, they're in competition in the NFC South.
This is crazy.
They're one game back from the Bucks.
They're one game back. Matt Rule got sacked because they were rubbish.
Yeah.
Steve Wilkes is doing a great job.
Steve Wilkes is doing a great job.
Yeah.
When he's not constrained by an awful GM. Maybe he does a head
Steve
coach.
Wilkes lost his job mainly because he was forced to play Josh Rosen, who was rubbish, picked by Steve Keim? No, Steve Keim.
Yeah. Steve Keim's still there.
And Wilkes was one and done as a head coach without ever getting a proper shot. This is what people saw in him. Like, he's got the team united after a terrible start. And they're doing better than most people expected with 3 different starting quarterbacks.
And just any good.
Yeah.
No,
better than Russell Wilson.
Just rotate them depending on what's the best situation for the game.
I think that could be brilliant.
Yeah.
No team's ever going to know what they're going to be getting.
Yeah, keep them guessing.
Are we playing to? Is it PJ Walker? No. Oh, it's Bait. Oh, bucket. Sam Darnold. We didn't
Put
prepare
2 of
for
them
that.
out there.
Yeah.
Put 2 of them. Really fuck them up. As well, even better for the Panthers. Matt Rule got signed.
Yes, by Nebraska.
So they don't have to pay him.
No, absolutely.
I love it when it comes up for billionaires. Oh, it's fucking great, isn't it?
Now, he's only been the starting running back for the Panthers for 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe this season. But Deonta Foreman has 563 rushing yards this season. He's 23rd running back overall in the league. Mm-hmm. And he's helping to carry this team. I wouldn't say they haven't missed CMC, but you have not noticed the drop-off you thought you might. Like, they weren't winning more games with CMC.
I completely agree with you.
Because I think his talent wasn't enough to elevate this team.
Exactly. And a single running back very rarely is. I think the only one that's really doing it is probably Saquon in New York. But the lack of CMC means they're having to do different things, where it's to be using Foreman, using Hubbard, getting more out of DJ Moore this year, who's just been criminally invisible. Like, he is a good wide receiver.
Great. Only one who's given Patrick Surtain a nightmare really this year. And I do wonder if basically carrying that team on his back is starting to hurt.
Starting to whiff.
But DJ Moore, brilliant. It's a shame really that they lost McCaffrey and Rule, because
can't tell what.
If Wilkes was able to get this performance out of this bunch of basically nobodies and DJ Moore, then what could he have done with a guy who probably could have been a generational talent if his
DJ
legs
Moore,
would have held.
This was only his second 100-yard game of the season. He had 152 yards against the Falcons 5 or 6 weeks ago, which I believe was the PJ Walker breakout, throwing that massive long pass that didn't win them the game. But just, they have talent on this team. It's not the most talented team, but they're Brian Burns racking up sacks. They have pieces.
There are some.
They've been badly coached, and the quarterback merry-go-round hasn't helped. I don't think their quarterback of next season is on the roster, but if it is, it's probably Sam Darnold, because the Baker thing hasn't worked and the PJ Walker thing never works.
This isn't a franchise. This isn't a roster where it's like the Texans, where there's just nothing there.
No,
there are pieces there. I think if you get a proper quarterback, if you add a couple of pieces, pass catching, either a tight end or another good wide receiver, and maybe someone else to strengthen the offensive line, I think the defense is good enough. I don't think it's brilliant, but I think it's good enough to certainly be competitive in the NFC South this year.
And the Broncos are still the most disappointing team.
Yeah,
it's got to be one and done for Hackett. Absolutely cannot be allowed to carry on this way.
Cannot be any way that he keeps his job in. I'm surprised he's not been sacked already.
I just don't think they want to do that. They're going nowhere.
Well,
I did call this before the season. I did say the Broncos would be rock bottom of this division and they'd be the only team that wouldn't make the playoffs. Now, I'm wrong, because the Raiders won't make the playoffs. But, I mean, it was always going to be a struggle, and Nathaniel Hackett was only ever going to work with Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't think it would be this bigger struggle. I always was on the add a quarterback into this team, and suddenly you've got a good team that could win
If only
matches in this division.
got Drew Lock and swapped him for Geno Smith.
Well, exactly.
They'd be better.
Yeah. I mean, you never know because probably who knows what Nathaniel Hackett would be making Geno Smith do right now? It's going to be appalling. So
poor Vic Fangio. That's all I can say.
Oh yeah.
What did the guy do to deserve to lose
even
his
on
job?
his last press conference, he was asked about it. He said, "We haven't got a good quarterback."
Yeah. But if they had given Vic Fangio Russell Wilson, this team would be.
I think this team would be competitive. I really do.
The fact that they are not even as competitive as the Pat Shurmur, Teddy Bridgewater team, that the fans booed out their own stadium. I mean,
it's dire, and I don't really know how you resurrect it. It's another team where, like the Cardinals, Kyler's staying because they paid him. Russ is staying.
Yeah, you can't get.
You can't get rid of him.
So the coach has to go.
Yes,
it's one and done. But it's not like, at least with Kyler, you can see well, if you harness this, then it's a really good team. He requires careful management, but it's there. Russell Wilson's an experienced veteran, 33-year-old quarterback. I don't know if it's there. I can't tell you it's definitely there.
I think the way out of this is, maybe not the way out, but one possible solution is you have to go to Russell Wilson and say, who do you want? I'm normally against that in terms of player power, but as a franchise, they are tied to Russell Wilson for at least the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, agreed.
They absolutely have to go to him and say, who's on your list? Who would you bring in? At least interview that person and see if you can kind of create some sort of traction and see if they're the right fit.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I don't know what. I mean, at the very least, it's funny, isn't it? Great, isn't it?
Okay.
I do wonder if Wilson's personality, you talk to the teams, players he used to be with, his personality is pricklish, I guess. They were like, do you ever, how long did it take you to get his number? And they're like, we never got his number. We had to talk to him via his manager. I can imagine going into a new place. If that's the case, he needs to be humbled. This should be doing it this season. He needs to be, taken down a step or two, because if he's doing the same in the new team, that just ain't right.
A bit like Aaron Rodgers, I think it just runs off his back. I don't think Russell Wilson is capable of acknowledging that a lot of this is on him.
No, of course he can't.
And that is a problem, the Zach Wilson thing. Zach Wilson's done it without the kudos behind him. Rodgers and Wilson get away with it because, they've won Super Bowls. Yeah. Zach Wilson tried it without winning feckle. You brought up DeShone Kizer earlier, who tried to do it before he came out of college and said he was going to be the new Tom Brady.
I'm just Googling whether Russell Wilson believes in 9/11.
Russell Wilson believes in Russell Wilson. I believe it's possible, but this is a big, heavy boat to turn around. Yeah. That is a problem. Right, does anybody have anything else? Because this is a constricted podcast because of the fact that we've all been up a long time and we've cheered ourselves hoarse watching the football.
Well, should we have a look at the next week's schedule? Because there's some good games coming up, isn't there? You guys play on Thursday night. Thursday night against the Bills. We're going to lose. Season's over, but it's okay. Yeah. I'm okay. Yeah. I mean, I wonder if the Ravens can pull out a last-minute loss against the Broncos. Because how bad is that going to... They have to lose 9-8. Do you not think the Ravens are more likely to put up, say, 30 points? I think they might get a massive 28-point win or something, 38-10 or something. Because the Broncos are appalling. Packers, Bears... could be two backup quarterbacks. Well, no, I don't know whether Justin Fields is going to be back. Have they said? I really hope he is. I really hope he is. If he is, they're going to crucify the Packers. If he's not, this is just an awful game. I mean, if you've just had a game where you couldn't stop the rush, the last person you want to see turn up on the other side is Justin Fields, who is just the most exciting rusher. Yeah. Could be fun. And, of course... Browns, Texans.
Oh my, I've forgotten about that.
Is there a headline there somewhere? Something about a comeback?
Don't call it a comeback.
No, I'd rather.
That's what
Davis Mills. Davis Mills is back after he was dropped. Carl Allen. We're like seeing the last of Carl Allen. It's a sad thing, but we're all really pleased to see Davis Mills come back.
I'm united with the whole of the footballing fandom. I say I really, really, really want the Texans to win this game.
Yeah, come on. They won't because they're shit.
I don't think they will because they couldn't beat themselves out of a paper bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everyone who isn't a Browns fan probably wants the Texans to win.
The only way that this would be some game that I would watch and actually approve Deshaun Watson is if he came out wearing a towel. If he tried to laugh it up, I'd be like, well, that is some balls. But
careful, that's what.
Exactly.
In the first place.
But herein lies the thing. He still hasn't been contrite.
No.
And I mean, it'll be on Red Zone. We will see it. It's going to be part of your life now going forward.
But luckily, we can just watch England Senegal.
I mean, I'm going to do that.
I can also say Chiefs Bengals.
Oh, rematch.
I think that'd be fun as fuck, quite frankly.
Yep.
And Chargers Raiders in a game of once again, who can get out the other way?
Does anybody think there's a good chance the Raiders win that game?
Yes.
Because I think there's a good chance
I think there's a huge chance the Raiders win that game.
That's a coin.
Wouldn't they then only be like one game behind the Chargers?
Yeah. I think only one team is coming out the NFC West this year because NFC West,
Chiefs.
AFC West.
Yeah.
It's the Chiefs. They're so far ahead, but I think everyone else will just find them. They might get to the last week, but let's see how Mike White does against the Vikings.
2 primetime games. Sunday and Monday night. Terrible. Colts at Cowboys and Saints at Bucks.
Saints Bucks is always when you were putting the season together, you go, Saints Bucks. It's always a game against Brady.
Yeah. I think at the beginning
of the season it works well. Colts Cowboys would be a playoff. 2 playoff contenders.
This is where they should be flexing these games out of these schedules. This late in the season, these games are going to be bad.
Yeah.
That game. I mean,
fuck that game. Quite frankly, I mean, it's good because we get an early night.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Speaking of which,
let's go on.
I'm dropping the mic.
Hang on. Sweetest player of the week.
I thought you did that.
I had Njoku because
I also had Njoku.
Oh, really? I thought I'd be the only one with Njoku.
No, it took the game to overtime. It was a brilliant catch.
I will say the D-Hop catch.
Yeah.
Also very good, but it's the significance of the catch.
Could also there was a Pierre interception in the Steelers Colts game, proper off the floor, really really good. But
it was. Yeah.
What
about some of the Jaguars? Okay, I didn't think it was the touchdown, but the Marvin Jones touchdown.
It was great.
Good for her as well. But should we award it to Njoku?
Yeah.
I don't know why we're debating it, really.
All right. So sponsored by Toot Sweets.
.shop.
Player of the week.
Well done,
David
Njoku.
Njoku.
Cheers, Jake Biscuits. You'll be missed.
He will indeed. Good night.